Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tronage, and today we're going to be talking about FPV crate for June 2020. Want to see what's inside this box? I know I do, so you're going to have to stick around. So FPV crate June 2020 box is finally here and finally out of my little personal quarantine. So, you know, if you're not aware, you're new around here, they kind of go into my own little personal quarantine. They kind of sit on a shelf in my garage for a couple of days before I actually, you know, open them and do anything with them. And the FPV crate finally arrived. This is the second attempt. And the first one that I was supposed to receive kind of disappeared. When you check the tracking, it just sort of stopped and it didn't actually get delivered, so it kind of got lost. Contacted the folks over at FPV Crate. They were more than happy to send out a new one for me, and it finally has arrived. Now, we already did the quad box for June 2020. If you missed that, you can check the link up in the corner there. And that box had some pretty good value. Off the top of my head, I think it was about $25 over the cost of the box for it. So I'm very excited to see what does FPV Crate have to offer for this June box season. So what we're going to do, I'm going to bring you all up in close. We'll do an unboxing together, and it's going to be a genuine reaction. I don't pre-record it in the sense of that I look at the things and put them back in the box. I do it live for you guys, so when I see it for the first time, when you're seeing it for the first time. Then we're going to do a cost analysis to see really, are you getting the value that you expect from this? And then because we already have the quad box, we're going to be doing a comparison between the two and just looking at what sort of value between the two of these boxes. But before we do any of that, make sure you slam that subscribe button. While you're at it, hit that bell icon. Makes finding my videos a whole heck of a lot easier, helps support the channel, and it keeps you in the know when I post videos such as this one. All right, why don't you come on in? Let's crack it open. Bam! FPV crate. All right, we're gonna crack this guy open, give it a little flipperoo. Let's cut that wonderful, oh, so buttery. I love cutting these vinyl stickers. It just feels so smooth on the blade. All right, get it in position here. Let's get that flap open and let's get opening. So first up, we have the little cheat sheet thing, so let's take that away. I don't want any spoilers, but we do have the sticker sheet. Pretty cool stuff. Very true. Build, fly, crash, and repeat. Dig in the sticker sheet. Let's move on. So we have a couple things here. So right off the top here, we have the Nebula HD FPV camera from Khattak FPV. And that's about all I see on the packaging. So here's the back where the details are for you, if you care to see that. But it's the Nebula Micro by Khattak. And I am a very big fan of the Khattak cameras. I do use them on my TBB Tronage budget build. If you want to see a very comprehensive video how to build a quad, and I do use not this particular camera, but one of the other Khattak cameras, you can check out the link. It should be popping up right about there for the Tronage budget build. Very comprehensive, very long video, but takes you from start to finish. Anyway, we got the Nebula Micro from Khattak. That's awesome. We have the Illuma Skid Kit, which I don't know what that is, so let's open it up and see. All right, so I'm not gonna fall. See, I already know this sticker is not actually holding this flap down. It's actually stuck down close too. So if you try to cut this sticker to open it, you're just wasting your time. So I'm gonna cut it from the top here. And let's see what a Illuma Skid Kit is. Okay. Ooh, there's a whole lots of stuff in here. Okay, so Lume, looks like it's going to be lights. We have some skid plates that you'd be putting mounted under your motor mounts. And these are injection molded or some form. They are not 3D printed, but they do bear the FPV logo on the bottoms of them. It's kind of hard to see, but maybe you'll be able to check it out. So if I hold it up here, you might be able to make out the logo, but it does have the FPV logo in the bottom of them. So you got these skid plates. And then you have what looks like to be your instructions here, which is, okay. So here's how these work. You essentially have like a piece of race wire. So if you're not familiar what race wire is really primarily for people who use a 4-in-1 ESC, because this sort of takes the place of where your ESC would live on the arms of your craft. So your 4-in-1 ESC would be in your stack, and then you'd have the 3 motor wires running to your motor. But what can happen is there's a point at which the props may bend down and can strike your wires and cut the wires. So what race wire does is you're supposed to put that in place of where that point would be that a prop could bend down and strike the wires. So it's a PCB and not a piece of wire. So what this is it's a piece of race wire that goes in that spot, but then it has this little LED piece here, you can see here, and these 2 little wires. So what you do is you're gonna tap off, as shown in this diagram here. Let me bring this up so you can see. You're gonna have your piece of race wire that runs across to the motor, but then you're gonna tap off one of these little spots and attach this little LED piece that goes inside your skid plate, so that inside the skid, let's see if I can find where it is, insert in the point here. Yeah. So it goes in here, there's a little notch. See a little notch right there? And then the LED will sit in here. So essentially, these skid plates will then glow, and hence the Lume skid kit. The idea is that you have your skid plates, but they also have a little LED piece inside of it. Here's a close-up of the LED, if you can see. Little LED, and it goes inside there. So it's kind of cool. And it even comes with a little piece of shrink tubing, so after you've soldered it all up. That's the only thing I'm gonna say I'm not super thrilled about, but it's no big deal, is that the LED portion, the race wire portion, and then the wires to connect the two are separate. And I guess this is pretty good because you can customize the length of the wire, but it'd also be nice if it was already pre-assembled. So I guess there's a positive and a minus to both of them, whether it's pre-assembled or not. Either way, I mean, if you're building a quad and you're installing this, you should know what you're doing, so soldering shouldn't be that big of an issue. So it is kind of cool. It would have been nice at least to have the two wires already onto the LED, so that it was just one step you wouldn't have to do, and then you could trim them to whatever length you want and attach them to the race wire component. I think would have been a little extra step, because these are very tiny solder pads and it is very thin wire, which can be challenging for some people. So it would have been nice at least to have half the job done, but still cool nonetheless. So you get 4 of those because you have 4 motors. And then what's also a nice touch that I'm liking is they're also included some motor screws, because obviously when you go to put this in, you may need longer motor screws than you're currently using, because this is going to be a little bit longer. And I will say one caveat: whenever you're doing anything with motor screws and adding bulk, just be sure when you put that screw in that screw is not penetrating through your, let's say, the skid plate, through your carbon fiber, and it's actually going into the windings of your motor, because that can cause lots of problems. So just be very careful that the screw length is correct. Don't just assume because they gave you these, they're the correct screw length, because they don't know how thick your carbon fiber is. So just because they're giving you this screw length doesn't mean that that's correct for your appropriate build. If you have a thinner arm, then it's going to need a shorter screw, because the thickness of the skid plate, the thickness of the carbon fiber, and the thickness of the foot of the motor all have to work out correctly. And if you have thinner or thicker carbon fiber, or thinner or thicker foot on your motor, will really determine what size screw you use. So test fit it, look at it carefully, and just make sure you're not creating any shorts, that these screws are not going into those windings. Very important little lesson that we just learned there as a little side note. So we got the Lume skid kit, which is actually pretty sweet, and it looks like it's a FPV crate thing because everything's got the FPV crate logo all over it. I don't know if it's maybe a rebranded one, but it does have the FPV crate logo on the card. Let me see if I can find it. Here's a better one. There's your FPV crate logo in the middle. So it's very, very FPV crate centric. They're very, I guess, proud of their logo, and I don't blame them. I mean, you know, if you have a company, you want to put your logo on everything. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't like it when it's put onto someone else's products. But if this is their own product and they kind of put it together themselves, then that's a cool thing. I can't get this back in here. Get in there. All right, so we got the Lume skid kit. Pretty cool thing. We got a t-shirt here. Oh, this box just keeps on giving. All right, let's open up this shirt. All right, so this is a pretty cool shirt. I ain't gonna lie, it's pretty decent. Let's take a peek at it here. So it's basically, it's a theme that I'm noticing that with the FPV crate, when they include a shirt, it's something from their sticker sheet that then they put on the shirt. And I can tell you again, this still is not screen printed. This is that print on demand. Basically, it's like an inkjet printer that prints on t-shirts. And I can tell because just the way it's printed, you can see that there's a lot of, I mean, it's definitely the best quality that we've received from FPV crate, but it still does not beat a real quality silkscreen. And what I mean by that is if you just look into this area here, I don't know if it's going to come up, but you see how it just looks very speckly and not very solid for the color. And there's just like a quality to it that you can tell it's like, I don't know. But you can see when you get up close, it just doesn't look super awesome. Like a silkscreen shirt, you have color separations and you're working with exact colors, and you don't have, I mean, granted you don't get all like these fades and everything as good, but when you have the print on demand, it gives you that flexibility, but also you end up with these, I don't know, it just like it doesn't look 100% perfect. I mean, don't get me wrong, this shirt is miles better than the other ones we received. I'm not seeing any of that blue overspray this time. I'm not seeing the blurriness that I've seen before. So whatever that issue was with their printer, I am sure resolved it. But this is pretty much good quality for print on demand, but I just prefer a silkscreen shirt a little bit more. But comparing the graphics to what it's supposed to be, side by side, I mean, it looks pretty bang on. Like I said, the only difference is like up in here, it's kind of just a solid color on the sticker, but you can see it just has like a speckly look to it, which you would not have in a silkscreen shirt. But still a pretty cool shirt. The other thing I am noticing is whatever brand of shirts they are using do run very small. If you notice, actually there's a lot of threads hanging on mine here too. And it looks like I have a pull maybe, I don't know. So their shirts are running kind of small. They are using their own label, so they are a custom shirt per se. But if you notice, I haven't been wearing them, and it's just because they run very small and they're rather tight. So that's what's been going on and why I haven't been wearing them. But so I will say their shirts are also not true to size, but it's still a cool shirt. We also got some battery straps here from Lumineer. And you know my story about battery straps. They're sort of like, you don't really need them, so it's a little gimme. So whatever. And then we got this Team Black Sheep thing in here. I don't know what this is. Looks like a case of some sort. It pops open pretty decent in size. And let's see if I doubt there's gonna be anything inside, but let's just check it out. No, it's just basically a bag. You can put, I don't know whatever they have it set up as. There's some little Velcro dividers you can put in. You can use it as a goggle bag. I'm sure you can use it as like a transmitter bag. You got little pockets you can put stuff in. Up here, you got some Velcro, some elastics up here. See, you got elastics, you got pockets, little separations, and these Velcro dividers can go wherever you want to go. So I'll look this up and see what this is really specifically for, but it is very nice. Got a lot of padding. It's soft on the inside. Great for goggles, great for a transmitter. Maybe even if you have a small, like a sub 250, like a 3-inch quad, maybe could even fit in here. Just reaching over here, I got like my arrow. Yeah, like you could put an arrow in here. I don't know if it would fit with the props on it, But yeah, I'll look it up and see what it's for specifically in their mind. But a nice bag nonetheless, a nice Team Black Sheep logo on there. It's not embroidered. It is silk screened onto the item, but that's still pretty cool. So we got the Team Black Sheep bag. We got the T-shirt. We got some battery straps. We got the Luma skid plate kit. And we got the camera and a sticker sheet and a cheat sheet. All right, let me run some numbers and see how this box checks out. All right, guys, I know what you want. You want that cost analysis. Well, I ain't gonna make you wait. Here it is. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go through this line by line and talk about each of these items. So the first thing I wanna talk about is that the box itself didn't have any props, which I found to be a little, I don't wanna say weird, but it just felt weird because normally there's been props in like practically every single box. Now, I will say, to be all fairness and, you know, full disclosure, my box came late. The original one got lost in shipping and they sent a replacement, and it was actually, instead of the way it normally arrives, it arrived inside of a box. Like the box was inside of another box, and inside that box was 3 packs of HGLRC props. Now, I don't know if everybody received those or if that was just a, hey, we're sorry that your FPV crate came really late compared to where it should have been. So here's a couple sets of, or 3 sets of some HGLRC props. We have received these, the same props we got before. I think it was maybe in April from FPV Crate. So they may have just been laying around, threw them in there as a little gimme to say, you know, hey, sorry, there was some problem. I'm leaning towards that they're not part of the crate because when I check the cheat sheet, it doesn't list those props as being part of the box. So I'm pretty sure that those props aren't part of the box. I just happened to receive those because I was unfortunately lost my box in shipping. So I think that was just a little extra bonus to me, but I'm just letting you guys know in case they are supposed to be in there, the retail value of about 3 sets of props is a little over like $10 and change. So if they're supposed to be part of that box, then, you know, you would add that in. If they're not part of that box, then you still leave them out. That's why they're not listed in the cheat sheet as part of the box. So that's why I'm assigning them as 0 value. Next up, we have those Lumineer battery straps. And if you know by now, I think that they're kind of a waste. I don't think really battery straps should be put in these boxes at all. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. Why? Because typically if you need a battery strap, you need a specific size, because depending on the shape and size of your battery, whether you're running a 2 or 3S on a small build, or maybe you're running a 4 or 5S, or maybe a 6S, the batteries will have different thicknesses, whether you have a longer battery or a square battery. They all have different, let's call it a diameter, even though it's a circle term. But you know what I'm trying to say. They have a how much the strap has to go around. Plus, the frame that you're putting it on will have different properties. Are you weaving it through the carbon? Are you just wrapping it around all the way around the whole frame with the carbon? Are you going for underneath? It could change how much strap you need. So since each person is individual and they probably have already built a quad, they probably already know, okay, these are the straps that I use. They're the right size, they're the right dimensions, the right thickness, and I like them, and you have them on hand. When you include them, it's more of like, I think, to me personally, it's like a sticker sheet where it's got like a logo stamped on it, but it's just advertising. It's nothing. It's just like, you know, you go to a trade show and they'd hand them out for free. It's not really have much value to it. Now, granted, there may be someone out there that needs this exact size battery strap and whatnot, and I'd be like, okay, cool, you know, you got your money's worth. And I'm going to label it as, over there, the value that they are. If you wanted the Lumineer battery straps of this size, that's how much value there are. However, I will say, I am the Newbie Drone small battery strap, which is the same size as this, is phenomenally way better of a strap. I use the Newbie Drone straps on all of my builds that because it's just a really much higher quality strap than these Lumineer ones, and that's my strap of preference. And they're cheaper. So for 2 of the Newbie Drone straps, it would cost you $2.50 instead of $4. So this is where I'm gonna kind of like, I'm flagging it in yellow just to let you know it's a hey, what's up, because in all honesty, I originally wanted to assign it a 0, but they are in the box and I can't let my opinion skew the actual values of things, so they do have value. However, I would highly recommend, if you were going to buy a battery strap, I would spend less and get more and go with the newbie drone ones. That being said, let's move on. Next, we have that Lume skid kit, and I do enjoy and I love the kit and I love the concept of it. But if you notice, again, it's flagged in a peachy color. And that's not, like, typically I use that to flag something that I don't agree with the price on. And it's not that I don't agree with the price. I think that the price is a pretty fair price, and it is their brand name item. So how do you really assign a price? Because there's no competition. I couldn't really find anything that's like exactly like this that, you know, if you know something that's exactly like this or similar to this, or this is like a copy of, let me know in the comments down below. But I couldn't really find anything in my quick search. But I did find the race light wire. You know, basically it's race wire, but instead of having to run these little fine wires, which probably, in all honesty, running from your, now that I'm thinking about it, running these little fine wires to the little LED on your skid plate, it's a delicate little tiny wire to have running across, and it may get damaged, ripped, whatever, and then your LEDs will go out. The race light wire is basically race wire with the LEDs right on it. So there's no extra part, there's no skid plate obviously, but you don't have to attach anything, and it has 6 LEDs per race wire on it versus the little 2 LEDs that are on the little part that goes into the skid plate. So you have more LEDs, brighter LEDs, less work to hook them up, less chance of them getting damaged because it's all just part of the race wire strip, and they're half the price at $7, $6.99 to be precise. So is it worth twice the price to get a plastic skid plate? And you have to say to yourself, well, is a skid plate really even necessary? I mean, you could buy a bag of those foam, those 3M oval shaped foam things that I myself use. You buy a giant bag of those for like $2 and it lasts you for many, many, many builds. So, you know, that's where you have to sort of think to yourself, is this a good product for me? Now, I'm not the one to judge what you like. I'm just pointing out other options. So is like $15 for this kit a good value? If to me personally, I feel like it's almost like maybe a $10 value would be a better price point for it, considering that a competitive version of it already exists, and it's called the Race Light Wire. It doesn't require any additional soldering, and it's just a more secure, but you wouldn't have the skid plates, and you wouldn't have the light coming like out of the skid plate area. It would be more on the arm, not like further out. So it's really a preference thing. Me personally, I'm not sure which way I would want to lean. I think it is a great value, but I just wanted to let you know there are other options out there. And especially if you're new to soldering, that little solder pads might be a little difficult, and you may want to think about looking at the Race Light Wire if you want to put LEDs on easily, just because there's no additional soldering. You just have to solder the 3 motor wires on one end, 3 motor wires on the other end, and you're done. So that's why it's flagged, just because there's something that's similar, more light and cheaper. Next up, we have that Khattak Camera, and this camera is actually pretty interesting looking into it. Like, I'm seeing a very big swing. Like, a lot of the products that we're receiving in these boxes are all starting to lean towards that digital DJI rig setup stuff. Now, like I mentioned in my other video, I don't have that rig, so I can't experience or enjoy it, because it's, quite frankly, it's kind of expensive, and right now money's a little bit tight, so I don't have the funds to go and buy the DJI equipment to play with it. But this camera is compatible with that digital equipment, so it's both analog and digital. So it basically has the connectors for just standard analog signal. If you want to throw this in your build today, no problem, hook it up the way you've always done, you're good. But if you do have the DJI setup, then you run a different cable. It doesn't plug into those analog things. It's like a little, I don't know, they call it a coax cable, But you basically take the backplate off, you stick it in there, you put your backplate back on, and then that would connect into the DJI unit. It's also obviously compatible with the Khattak has their, it's basically a licensed version of the DJI system, so it's a lighter weight version. I'm not sure, the price might be a little bit cheaper, but it's Khattak's version, but it is licensed with permission or whatever the deals they have with DJI, so that it does work with their goggle system and all that fun jazz. And this camera is compatible with both of those systems. It's compatible with both the DJI one and it's compatible with the Khattak's one. And why would you want to use this camera over the one that DJI has? Well, weight. They list that it is a lighter weight camera, so if weight is a concern on your build, you can use this camera instead and shed some of the pounds that the DJI camera has. Not pounds, but grams. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Pounds. Sheesh. But overall, Khattak's are awesome cameras. Love them. Great quality, good value. And I'm really happy to have this to play with, and it future-proofs for down the road if I ever do decide to go digital. I have a camera that's ready to go that I can hook up digitally as well, which is kind of a cool thing to have both that option in one package. Next, we have this t-shirt. So what's interesting is I looked on their website, and this t-shirt, this exact t-shirt, they have it listed for $12, so that's the price that I'm assigning it. But the one that they have in the picture is a black shirt instead of this heather gray shirt. And I kind of wish it was the black one because I love black shirts, and darker colors are always a good thing. But I still liked this this shirt. I have to say the quality has improved, but it's certainly not a silk screen type quality shirt, but it's certainly much better than the shirts we've had received in the past. But as I have mentioned, the shirt sizes are they run small. You know, like this is a 3XL. This is what I can expect from the quad box shirts. You know, I have room that I can move around. Everything's, it fits comfortably. With the FPV crate shirts, you can see they're tighter. They don't fit comfortably for the same size. Like, this feels almost like I'm wearing like a 1X or a 2X, not a 3X size shirt. So they do definitely run smaller, and they're just not really, at least for me, comfortable to wear for the size that I am. So that's the t-shirt, but it's only $12. And I think that's a fair price for the shirt. And since they've dialed in the quality of the shirt, there's none of that blue overspray. It doesn't look blurry anymore. It does look like a properly, print on demand shirt. And it is a lower price than a normal silkscreen shirt would be. So for $12, I think that's an absolute fair price, and I'm happy with it. I just wish the sizing was a little bit more true to sizing than it is, because I'm gonna have to wait until I lose a couple pounds before I can comfortably fit into that shirt. And lastly, we have that TBS gear pouch, and it's kind of a cool thing. Basically, on their website, they show it that it can comfortably house like a goggles and the Tango 2 in there. It does include 2 long dividers and a short divider. The long dividers would actually go, up and down kind of thing. And then the short divider you would use to either go between the 2 long dividers, like making like a letter H if you want it in the gear pouch, or take out one divider, you can move it all the way to one side, so you just have one going down and one going to the side. But that's what those 2 dividers are for, so you can just keep stuff from dinking into each other, kind of a thing. Personally speaking, I think I'll probably use it just very similar to the way I used the Ethics bag that we've got a while back. And that's really to carry my sub 250s, my tiny whoops. It's a great little bag to throw that type of stuff in, I think, and that's probably where I will be using it. Definitely a useful item nonetheless, and a gear bag, I think, is a pretty decent thing to receive. So when I was opening up the box, and it just kept like giving and giving, and there was new item, another item, another item, another item, I was like, wow, there's like a lot of stuff in this box. And then when I did the cost analysis and I came down, remember, I kind of, quite frankly, forgot about the battery straps because they sort of weren't memorable to me. I came up with like a $15 or $16 price tag, and I thought, that seems awfully low for all that stuff. And I went back and checked, and then I realized part of it was that I forgot the battery straps, so I've added those in. but also that you have to remember when looking at the two boxes, you cannot really compare them directly, because Quad Box and FPV Crate are $10 difference in price. A Quad Box is like $40 with the boost, and the FPV Crate is like $50. So when you open up an FPV Crate box, it costs $10 more to buy. So there should always feel like there's a little bit more in the box because it costs more. But that's why I do the value that you received over the cost of the box, because that's where you can actually do the comparisons. This box, after I added in the battery straps, we are right at my baseline of $20. We're just under it, but we'll call it $20. So if you're not familiar, personally, I have a baseline of $20 as where I'm comfortable giving up choice for value. So these are mystery boxes, and the way a mystery box works is you give up choice in order to get value. And for me personally, I feel like $20 is a good baseline mark for that exchange between me, the consumer, and the retailer. Now, if I get more than $20 worth of value in the box over what I paid, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. If I get less than $20, then I start feeling, well, I have to look at like what the items are and of how happy I'm with those items. If I get like really low, like $5 or $7, let's just say, then I start feeling like, man, I just got completely ripped off here, because and especially if you get into the negatives, forget it, then you're like really cranky. But the point I'm trying to be here is that even if we don't count those straps, we're at $15, which I feel is more than acceptable. And with the battery straps included, we're at $20 of value, which I feel is a decent box. And especially the unboxing of it, there just seemed like there was a lot in there, and that made me had a good experience to unbox it, since there was a lot of stuff. I just kind of wish there was like one little extra something, little salt bay, if you will, to just finish it off and have like that little thing. Like even if they threw in like maybe one bag of props or something, I mean, just to make it over that $20. That would have made me a little bit happier, but still nonetheless, we're talking $20 over the value of the box, which is makes me happy moment. You know what I'm saying? You got what I'm saying. Now that we got that out of the way, we do have the Quad Box and we do have the FPV Crate. So now let's do some comparisons. You got it. All right. Here's your comparisons of the two boxes. Now, if you're new around here, let me give you a quick tour. This is comparing Quad Box to FPV Crate since FPV Crate launched. If you're curious about how pricing and historic data goes between, Quad Box and drone drop and all that stuff that happened since February of 2018 when I've been subscribing to all these mystery boxes, you can check out the video up in the corner there. That video is the comparison from January, and it has all the historic data. Now, moving forward, I've basically restarted my timer, if you will, whatever you want to call it, my data calculations, and restarted it on July 2019, which is when FPV Crate launched, so that everyone had no head starts or nothing. So that first column is what happened at launch in July of 2019 till the end of 2019 for both boxes. That second column is what has happened in January till present in the June box set. That third column is what's the total, basically just adding those first two columns together so that we can see really what the overall value that we've received. Now note, for February, Quad Box did not issue out a box. They didn't sell one, they didn't charge us for one, and they didn't send one due to COVID. So to make things, again, since I don't want anything to be unfair and have any head starts or anything, since there were less boxes paid for and distributed for Quad Box, that's where these last two columns are for. They're showing how many boxes we received and what's the average. How do I figure those out? Well, I counted up how many boxes we got and then took the total and divided it by the number of boxes, and that's how I got the average. Green means that that's who's winning that column, just so you can see at a glance. So you can see in 2019, Quad Box offered a little bit more value. You can see this year so far, FPV Crate has offered more value, but that's mostly because Quadbox has not put a box out for February, so therefore they're kind of one box behind. Then you can see for the total now, overall, Quadbox is still a little teeny smidge, even having not done a box for February, which is kind of interesting. And then if you look at the average value, now remember, this is not a guarantee what you can expect, it's just on average what I have received since July 2019. You can see Quadbox has put out a little bit more value on average than FPV Crate has. Now remember, these are mystery boxes. Anything can happen at any time. You can get a box that has killer stuff in it, motors, and you know, we've had boxes that are like $95 over the cost of the box of value in the box, when you just blows your mind. Now typically those are usually around the holiday season in November, December, typically, but they could pop up at any time. I have no special information. And there are times that you can get kind of dud boxes that either come out with like a negative value price because just the products in there weren't so hot, or you could end up with like a $5 or $10 over the cost of the box. We've had the whole spectrum of the highs and the lows and everything in between, and that's the beauty of a mystery box, is that it's sort of a roller coaster ride that you don't know what you're going to get, and that's part of the thrill. And you have to accept that sometimes there's going to be a great box and sometimes there's not going to be a great box. That's part of what a mystery box does. So it will be very interesting to see what happens for the month of July, now that we as we move through the season of summer, if you will, because things are starting to open up. People are starting to be able to get outside and do some stuff, and I feel like there's going to be this resurgence, this explosion of energy of people who want to enjoy the hobby, play with the hobby, do the hobby. And I feel like, you know, these boxes are a great way to either supplement some parts if you're already into the hobby, or maybe you're just starting to get into the hobby and you want to start accumulating some parts to start building some quads. Either way, I think these are a great way to go, and certainly worth checking out. And if you do decide to subscribe to any of these boxes, specifically like FPV Crate that we're highlighting in this video, please, down in the description below, there are affiliate links. Please, if you're going to make any purchases, whether it be from FPV Crate or from Amazon or anything below, please use those affiliate links. It does not cost you a single cent extra, but it does help support the channel. And in these times, we can use all the support that you can offer. So please do that, and I thank you for it. All right, so as always, my name's Tronage. Fly strong.